What's happening, guys? Another day back in the garage today. It's damn hot out again. This heat wave is ridiculous in the UK at the minute, but I ain't gonna let it stop me cracking on with working on the track car. So today's video, I'm gonna be swapping out the suspension. I'm mainly doing this because I'm trying to get the car road legal to take for an MOT, and it's so low at the minute that I think when it goes into the rollers for the brake test, I think it's going to end up smashing my front bumper. So the suspension that's on it at the minute, a KYB, they're damping adjustable, but they're not height adjustable. So I've picked up just a fairly cheap pair of Vmaxxx Coilovers. I think these are about £500 brand new off Mx5 parts. I managed to pick these up for 150 quid, so bit of a bargain. Might get me out of a spot, and I might upgrade to better suspension at a later date, but they'll do me for now. So right, I'm going to do the job. I'll take you along. I'll show you how to change out the coilovers and suspension on your car if you need to do it yourself. First job, as always, guys, get the car jacked up, get it up nice and safe. I've got mine up on 4-axle stands. When you put the car on the axle stands with the MX5, a good place to put them is on the chassis rails, but on the double skinned areas at the front and the rear, okay? Never put the stands on the single layer because it's not strong enough. That'll give us plenty of room when working on the suspension. I'm not going to be getting anywhere near the wishbones, etc. So get your wheels off. And then I'll bring you in to have a look at what it looks like underneath. Alright, so I'll bring you in to have a look what it looks like under here. So here we go, what's in there at the minute. So we've got the KYB damping adjustable shocks. The adjustment down there, you can turn that left or right for a number of settings to make it either stiffer or softer for your ride. But it is a fixed height, so I can't alter the height on them, unfortunately. And with how low this front bumper is, it'll just smash when it goes in for the brake test on the MOT. So gonna chop them out, change them out. So to do this, we're gonna need the engine bay open as well. And I've got a front strut brace fitted, so that's gonna have to come undone. But ultimately you're gonna be undoing, well, that nut there and that nut there. Do that on both sides. So obviously when you're doing this side, that one and that one. So we're going to undo them, and underneath the car you'll see down at the bottom here you've got the lower bolt just there for the suspension. On the other side there you can see. And what we're going to do is, you see a lot of people when they do these coilover jobs on the MX5, they all start pushing down on this with their feet and trying to bend it down so you can wiggle this out. The easiest way of doing it is we undo this top wishbone bolt and pull it out. Now to do that as well, you've got the bracket here which fixes your anti-roll bar on, which you can see just under there, the nuts. What you need to do is you need to undo those nuts slightly, not all the way, just a little bit, because it'll allow the thread behind there to drop low enough so that you can pull that bolt out. Okay, once that bolt's out, this top arm, you're going to be able to move it. You're going to be able to move that then, and you'll be able to just pull that out, wiggle it straight out. All right, so the front shouldn't be too difficult. So I'm going to put a bit of spray, a bit of penetrating oil on the bolts, and then we'll see if we can get them undone. So as I said, a little bit of penetrating fluid just to ease the nuts when you're going to undo them. Right, so I'm going to try and get this bottom suspension bolt out. God, that's tight. That is tight. Right, let me bring you in, show you what I've done. So bottom bolt here, that's now undone. Just got to tap it out. On the wishbone, you can see there, I've just undone that there. And on the other side, you've got the nut. So put a 21mm spanner on that nut to hold it, and then a 21mm socket on that end to undo that. Then your anti-roll bar bracket, as I said earlier, it's hard to get under here, but that 12mm bolt hanging down there, and that one there I've undone. If you look in the top, if I can just get some light in there, you'll see, you can just see the thread on top of that. So the aim is that we're undoing those, not taking them right out, just undoing them like that there, just to allow that bolt there to slide right through to get it out. All right, so I'm going to get them bolts out and then I'll come back to you once that's done. All right, guys? So here you can see what I mean about that bolt. So you can see there, coming through here, I'm just pulling it out the back like that, yeah? It'll allow you to get it free. That's just the washer that goes on the end. Goes on the end of there like that. So that bolt's out, which means that arm will drop. Bottom bolt's out, the suspension down there. So now we can turn our attention back up to the top of the car, and all we've got to do is undo these two fault. I'll undo the other side as well, completely remove this strut bar. So that shock just dropped a bit then, that's because we've removed that bottom bolt out of the wishbone. Right, so with them top bolts, nuts undone, I should now be able to lift out the suspension strut. So hopefully I can just move it forward like so, and then lift it out like that. Obviously that's a lot easier. So what I'm also doing, I'm just using a little bottle jack just to pump up the lower arm, just so I can get the suspension lined up in the hole. Obviously it drops a bit. Good to try and get that in position, and then we can get the bolt back through. Right, so the bolt's fitted back in the top of the wishbone. I'm going to tighten up those anti-roll bars, bolts, and obviously the bottom bolt just down there. I'm going to tighten that. Go back up top, tighten up the ones attached to the strut brace, and that is how you change the front shocks on the MX5. Stay tuned, and I'm going to go and do the rears. Right, the fronts are on, guys, so when you tighten up these bolts, drop the car down onto the floor first, just so you've got the weight of the car on it before you do your final tighten up on them bolts, okay, just so the car's got the weight on it. But that's the front coilovers fitted. Not too bad of a job. And now we're going to move on to the back of the car, and we're going to do the rears. So I'll grab the light and I'll show you what we're dealing with at the back. So the rear ones, to undo, you've got a bolt that goes through there, and on the other side, so I'll shine the light in there for you, on the other side it's a captive nut, okay? If you're lucky, these are going to undo and you're going to have the captive nut remaining in place. If that captive nut snaps, the welds on it, if they snap, then you're into a bit of a heap of shit when you come to refitting the new coilovers, because you're going to have to bend a spanner to get it up into the wishbone so that you can hold the nut onto the back while you thread the bolt through. But hopefully that's not going to happen and we're not going to have a problem. So that's what we've got to undo there. Inside the car, you've got to go into the rear of the trunk, into the boot. Shine a light in here for you. So in the boot of mine, I've got a rear strut brace. You may not have this, but basically inside here, down the bottom there, one over there and there's two nuts, 14mm again. You've got to undo both of them. Obviously this side's a bit more tricky because you've got the fuel pipes in the way, but again, you've got to get in there, undo the two 14mm, and then you'll be able to get the coilover out. So I'm going to remove that brace bar, and then I'll show you what it looks like once that's out. Right, there's the top mounts, as you can see, and the other one on the other side by the fuel pipe. A little tip for getting out that one over there, the one at the far side, I had to use a 14mm deep socket, just so I could get enough on it to get the ratchet to go round and round. The other ones you can do with a normal 14 socket and an extension bar. Right, so now that's out. Next job is to come down to the rear suspension strut and undo that bolt in there, and then just hope that it doesn't snap off on the captive nut. So that's the next job. Right, so I've got a breaker bar on it. Let's see what happens. Yep, it's cracked. Let's just hope that the captive nut is okay. The bolt is coming out. Good news. There we have it, one long bolt. Right, when you come to take the shock out and it's in there, put your foot on there and then press down on it. Before you do that, just undo the bottom anti-roll bar link there. Okay, that will just give you the extra movement in the lower wishbone for it to drop down, all right? So do that, put your foot on there, push it down, and then the shock absorber will literally just come out like that, ready for the new one to be fitted. All right, guys? So it's still sitting pretty low, but believe it or not, it is actually a bit higher than what it was, and at least now I can adjust the height. So we're all good. Have a little look from the back. There we go. Right, that's it, the job's done. Back on the ground, wheels are back on. Just remember to tighten everything up when you've got the car back on the ground, just so that you've got the weight of the car back on. But it's good, at least I can raise the car up now and hopefully get it through the MOT, and I'm not going to smash my bumper to bits. The other suspension that was on it was probably better, KYB, but we'll see how this goes on track. Hopefully it'll be okay. But yeah, I hope you found the video useful, guys. Give it a like if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more Mazda content. Take care. See you later, guys.